The light I found in someone else's story. Some nights the tavern doesn't feel like a refuge. Some nights it feels like a mirror. Tonight the tavern has appeared in Edinburgh, a city of narrow streets, ancient stones, and quiet corners that seem to hold the weight of history. Alex told me earlier where we landed, just before dusk. A place bustling with life, yet filled with those who feel unseen. I wiped down the bar and waited, not because I expected trouble, but because I could feel it. Sometimes the light doesn't come from the fire, sometimes it comes from the listening. She arrived late. Alex noticed her first. He always does. He didn't say much, just nodded toward the door and murmured, "She's been standing out there a while." She didn't look broken. She looked tired, in the way that comes from carrying thoughts you don't know how to set down. I poured her a drink she didn't ask for, something warm, something simple, and set it in front of her without ceremony. She stared at it like it appeared by accident. "I don't think I belong anywhere tonight," she said. Not to me exactly, just aloud. I didn't rush to answer. People don't come here to be fixed. They come here to be heard. She told me she'd spent years being strong, for friends, for family, for people who needed her light more than she needed it herself. And somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten what her own hope sounded like. "I used to be the one with answers," she said. "Now I don't even know what question to ask." I nodded, because I've been there too. I didn't tell her my story. Not yet. Instead, I told her about a traveler who came through once, long before this night, long before this city. A man who sat exactly where she was sitting, who stared into his cup like it might explain something. He told me he'd lost faith in himself, not because he failed, but because he'd succeeded and felt empty. He said, "If I've done everything right and still feel this hollow, what does that say about me?" I told her how I listened, how I didn't interrupt, how I didn't offer wisdom wrapped in certainty. I just stayed, because sometimes the bravest thing someone can do is keep talking, and the kindest thing someone else can do is let them finish. She looked up at me then, not because the story was impressive, but because it was familiar. "That story sounds like me," she said quietly. I smiled, not because it was solved, but because it was seen. "The light didn't come back to him all at once," I said, "but it did come back. When he realized his emptiness didn't mean he was broken, it meant he was human." Alex passed by then, setting a fresh candle on the table. It flickered, small, unassuming, enough. She sat with that candle for a long time, watching it, measuring it, doubting it. "I don't know how to find my way back," she finally said. I moved forward slightly. "You don't have to," I told her. Not tonight. I gestured around the tavern, the low murmur, the quiet warmth, the stories resting in the walls. Sometimes, I said, you borrow the light until yours remembers how to burn. She asked me then, finally, why I do this, why I keep the tavern open, why I listen. I thought of Alex, of travelers long gone, of nights when someone else's words carried me when my own failed. I found my way back once, I said, by listening to someone else's story, and I realized something important. She waited. Light doesn't always come from inside you, I said. It arrives through another voice, and it stays just long enough to remind you that you're still here. She finished her drink, and when she stood differently. Not healed, but held. After she left, the tavern felt lighter. Not louder, not brighter, just steadier. Alex locked the door for the night and gave me a look, the kind that says, another one made it through. I wiped the bar slowly. If you're listening to this and your light feels gone, if you've been strong for too long, if you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't quite touch, know this. You don't need to shine tonight. You don't need answers. You don't need to be inspiring. Sometimes all you need is someone else's story and the courage to sit with it. Because borrowed light is still light. And sometimes it's enough to get you home. The tavern rests tonight in Edinburgh. And for those willing to let another story touch them, there's always the warmth waiting inside.